We're just about there, Lee. Why don't we crack on?
Yeah,
People are busy. We need to get going.
Okay, so good morning, everyone. Thanks for joining us. My name's Lee. I'm the manager of the training team that manages training events for exams officers, and I'm going to be supporting my colleagues today running today's event. Just before we start, just a little bit of housekeeping. So the session's going to be pretty much bang on an hour. We are recording the session, so don't be worried too much if you miss anything. You'll be getting a recording where you'll be able to go over and review any bits that you might have missed or anything you want to sort of view again. There is a Q&A panel at the bottom of your, depending on what computer you're using, it'll either be at the bottom or the top of your screen. And if you want to pop a question in there throughout the session, either myself or Alexa or Ruhi or possibly even Tim, if you can multitask, might be able to pick those up throughout the session. But if not, we are allowing a bit of time at the end of the session to do Q&As. So we should be opening the mic up for questions, and also any questions that we've not managed to answer throughout the session, we'll get those boxed off as well. And I think that's it for housekeeping. I did mention we're recording, didn't I? Yeah, so I'm going to hand over to my colleague, Tim, and we'll crack on. Thanks, Tim.
Okay, good morning, everyone. Thanks so much for joining us and giving us some of your busy day. We're very excited about this summer's assessment and hoping that we can do everything we can to make it a positive experience for you. Hence this session. We've got another one at 4 o'clock this afternoon, and it's also equally well registered for. So there's obviously interest, hopefully not too much anxiety, but we all want to get this right. So we'll do everything we can here quickly to give you a little bit of information. And then we've got just as much time for Q&A as we have me transmitting in terms of reading off slides. So we'll get through the slides quite quickly. We've got a quick agenda on here where we're going to look at the updated ICE document and the checklists and the support and guidance for delivering the assessment. We're going to look at talking through the key activities that you should consider in your center to be doing ahead of time in terms of creation of user areas, etc. We're going to then talk quickly about what to expect on the exam day. And then we're going to have a significant number of Q&A. Now, I'm joined in this call this morning by some colleagues. Let me see. Oh, I don't see the slide. That's weird. Did I flick over it? Here we go. So there's me. I'm Tim Brady, your subject advisor. Later on in the slide deck, you'll see a contact email that will come directly to me, teachingcomputerscience@pearson.com. And I'm very happy for every one of you to send any questions that we haven't completely covered in this session or in other communications to that email, and we'll make sure that we get answers for you. Samad, our head of computer science assessment, won't be able to join us this morning. Ruhi, our subject leader in assessment, is with me, and Alexa Hathaway, our customer engagement partner. So, okay, everyone. So yeah, I see there's also some questions come up on the email. Sorry, on the Q&A section. So as we're going through the slide presentation part of it, my colleagues will try and deal with those questions. So it looks like what email and phone call communication. That's a slight worry. So we'll make sure that we capture that, maybe, Alexa, and that's from one of our colleagues. So here I'll go into the first slide here. We're going to be talking about the updated ICE and then the role-specific checklists. So this is the support and guidance for delivering the assessment. So we've, when this qualification was first presented for approval to the regulators, we created an ICE. It's quite unusual at the time of seeking approval for a qualification to have instructions for the conduct of the examination document. But as I'm sure all of you are aware, a big part of the challenge for the new 2020 specifications was that the NEA, as it had previously been in the spec, had security issues. So we needed to help convince the regulators that we had a good experience of delivering exams in a format such as this paper 2, and were in good position to help instruct centres about how to deliver it. So we basically took an ICE from a couple of previous qualifications and wrote this so that when we went for approval for the qualification, it was clear that we had a good understanding of how this assessment would be run. Now, that was some time ago, clearly, and as we've come much closer to the live session, it was very important that we updated and revised the ICE to get it to really sharpen it up, you know, as we're approaching the first live session. So Ruhi, my colleague in assessment, has done a wonderful job making a beautiful document here, which is eminently readable. Hopefully, I feel like it's certainly not risen. It's not a brand new document, but is based on ICEs from other successfully running quals. So hopefully you find it accessible. Having said that, we're at V1.3, which does imply that we've made some changes, and certainly in the last few weeks, some of the dates have had to be sharpened up, and there are some details in there that are worth just pointing out. The most important message, I would say, is that this is a document that needs to be read and shared between the 3 roles in the school, or 4 roles, in fact, the exams officer, the IT support people, the classroom teacher, as well as the invigilators. There's important information for everyone in there. So the things that have changed now with version 1.3, and that's the changes since version 1.2, are that Appendix 3 has been removed and a separate learner work transfer guidance document is now available. So when we are receiving the students' work from you and providing that to our examiners for marking, we're going to be using a system, a portal, that has been designed and has been used across quite a few other subjects now, called learner work transfer. So rather than burden the ICE with that information, we're going to be referencing the learner work transfer guidance that is separate. Section 9.2, in terms of the materials, there's a updated statement about specialist invigilators, so that's worth having a look at. And of course, very importantly, we now know when results day is, and so we've made sure that we've put the correct date in there in the section, I think, that's about key dates. The only other thing that might be worth a mention, certainly some teachers have contacted me about it, is we love to do, as teachers, the masterclass or warm-up session before the actual event. And there was a bullet point in the previous version which alluded to teaching having to be suspended. That has been removed. That was a hangover from a previous version, from a qualification actually that had a schedule over a number of days where an assessment could be done, and during those days teaching had to be suspended. In this case, for our England GCSE, this qualification has to be done on the day, on the afternoon of that Friday. So the ICE is a really, really vital document. Please do read it with your team, absorb it, and any questions that come out of it, email me directly and we'll address any questions. Now, what we've done also with the help of our customer service colleagues, who've got lots of experience of on-the-day support of live quals, is extracted from the ICE some checklists to help the 3 main teams here get everything set up ahead of time and on the day, so that everything runs smoothly. So there's an examinations officer's checklist, there's an IT technician's checklist, and an invigilator's checklist. Very importantly, I think, you know, and we've got 50% exams officers here. I mean, it's absolutely key to say that it's not just your job to get this assessment to work right. It's absolutely vital that you have the support of the IT people in your centre, whether they be staff and colleagues or paid for external resources. They need to be talked to ahead of time, and they do have a large part to play in making this all run smoothly. And the only thing that I would say is that make sure that your teacher is fully involved and engaged, because the tools and environment that your candidates are going to be sitting in on the day of the exam need to be familiar. So in other words, that classroom teacher that has been teaching them for the 2 years leading up to this needs to be part of the team that makes sure that all the tools look the same and that they're all the same versions of IDE, operating system, and that things are familiar. So the checklist hopefully be very useful. I'm just going to keep cracking through. So those two or those documents all on the website, and the links in the presentation, which you'll get a copy of after the event. So moving on to key preparation activities. So this is where I believe the team should be working together ahead of time. And let's have a quick talk about this. Now, the creation of secure user areas and folder setup. The creation of secure user areas is something in many centers that is quite familiar. It's even in the days of coursework and controlled assessment, the kind of thing that the IT people would have provided to the teachers, so that there was a place where work that was done by the students would be secure and separate from their standard working area. So I'm hoping that many of the centres will find this not completely new and challenging and worrying. I'm sure there are some centres out there that may not have had experience of doing this, in which case, you know, we'll do everything we can to support it. But in essence, the idea is that each candidate will sit in front of a computer that is not connected to the internet, and they will have a special exam login. Sorry about my dog. It's important that these areas have, obviously, the student has to be able to read and write files, because we'll be providing some seed code files, some Python code files to you. The students need to be able to open it in their IDE, the IDE that they've been using for the teaching. They need to be able to save as, so that they rename the file that they're working on, and their work will go into a completed coding folder. And they need to be able to run these Python script files. So read, write, and run privileges will be the kind of thing that's well understood by IT support people. There needs to be at least 50 meg of storage space. Now, in this day and age, that's a trivial amount of disk space that each candidate will require. It's absolutely fine to give loads more than that. It might be simpler. I doubt that 50 meg will be a challenge for anybody, but basically the seed code files are tiny text files. They've got .py after them because they're Python script files, but they're absolutely tiny in terms of file size, and disk space needed will be very little. We were strongly advised to put a number on the storage space. I think 50 meg is way over the top. But by all means, by looking at the specimen papers and the SAM, you'll get a good feeling about the kind of storage that students will need. Also, no access to the internet is vital. What we're suggesting, if you look at the two boxes below, is that you've got a PC. I don't like the fact that desktop is in that in the list. So this is a snapshot from a from a Windows Explorer window. But basically the home directory or folder for the student should have the naming convention for that student. So what we're showing here is center number 12345, candidate number 0123, Adam Smith. So his home folder should be named with that convention, and then under that home folder would be student coding and completed coding. The desktop in this particular screenshot, I'm not sure is ideal. I mean, if it's how you want to do it, that's fine. It's certainly not what we need. If this is a Windows infrastructure and that home folder might live in a remote, secure hard disk drive, you know, in a server room somewhere, it probably better that it isn't under desktop, I would suggest. So, but that's up to you. What we do recommend is that the home folder or the top level folder that student has in their secure user area is named using that naming convention. And then in there, we've got two folders, student coding and completed coding. And the student coding folder is where we ask you to drop the files that we provide you on the morning at 8 o'clock in the morning, I believe, on this Friday coming up. And it will comprise that the PDF file, which is the programming language subset, plus the question 1 to question 6.py files. I've just put a little box in there because not every session will it be Q1, Q6.py. Sometimes there will be another file, data.txt. So minimum of 6 seed code files, sometimes additional text files. And then in the completed coding folder, it's absolutely essential that students are trained and reminded that where they save their work is in completed coding. So even if part of what they do is they open up q01.py and they do save as and stick it in completed coding as q01, I believe the question paper says _finished.py. So the completed coding folder is where the examiners are going to look for material to mark. Okay. Will it be a problem if some students inevitably don't rename the code files as properly instructed? Thank you for the question. No, just make sure they put it in completed coding folder, because that's where the examiners will look first for any work. If they call it Q01 _ mydog.py, the examiners will mark it. Thanks for the question. IT support and contingency message. So it's really important that your centre is prepared on the day to handle issues, and most of these are addressed in the ICE, and over the years of running very similar assessments, we've seen all of these happen in various ways. So we've tried to be very clear about what you do. So if a student's computer crashes, it can be restarted, time lost can be added at your discretion. If the whole centre's power goes down and is retrieved 30 minutes later, the whole session can be delayed to accommodate that. If in the very worst case situation, there's a crash of such a magnitude that students are not able to complete their assessment, then the process is spec cons, which I think our exams officers understand quite well. There's a link in the slide here to information about special considerations. So hopefully we've got most of the things that really happen covered. Let's see, we're 20 minutes through. I do want to leave lots of time for Q&A, so I'm going to try and rattle through the slides. What to expect on exam day. So there's two critical things. You're going to receive from us on the morning the seed code files that need to be put into the student coding folder, as discussed. So there's questions about how to get that. And then at the end of the assessment, the learner work transfer, how you send their work to us to get to the examiner. So in terms of release of the exam materials, we will be sending a digital copy of the programming language subset and the seed code files. And they're going to be provided at 8 a.m. on the day of the exam and accessed via either secure download service, which is an Edexcel Online tool that I am not familiar with. Exams officers, I presume, are, or through the website using Gold Padlock. So that I'm more familiar with. It basically, you will see it on our website with the Gold Padlock. The Gold Padlock, the significance of the Gold Padlock is that it's only the exams officer that can access that. Silver padlocked resources on our website can be accessed by anyone with an Edexcel Online account. So one of those two methods should be available to you, and it's possible in advance or up front to make sure that you exercise both of those routes and that both of them work, and then you're ready for the morning. Also, a hard copy question paper will have been delivered to you. There'll be a paper version of the PLS as an insert with the question paper, so the student has two ways of accessing the PLS. Now, the dispatch of question papers is a standard process for exams officers. That should be completely normal. And there's some links there to Dispatch and Edexcel Online for tracking those. Missing question papers, if those physical assets have not arrived, you need to get in touch with us in a standard way by contacting customer services and alerting us that the hard copies haven't arrived. And that's a standard. So nothing about this element of things is anything different from normal GCSE processes. Please only contact us if it is within 7 days of the exam taking place. So I guess once you get to within 7 days, you should have received the physical assets. Now, at the end of the assessment, there's a learner work transfer. Now, you're going to have your students' files, which will be in the completed coding folder, all zipped up, ready to send to us with the right file name. You log on to Edexcel Online, you can see here where you can find the menu item to launch Learner Work Transfer. You should see that every student that has an entry will be on the list in Learner Work Transfer. It will be sitting there in front of you, and we're going to be following up, by the way, with some video run-throughs and tutorials of how Learner Work Transfer interface looks. But basically, you'll have Learner Work Transfer here with all the students' names. You'll have a folder system here with all of the zip files, and literally you drag from one to the other. And once they're in Learner Work Transfer, you hit a button to say upload, and that should be you done, ready to go off for your half-term break. There are links here to Learning Work Transfer support portal, so by all means have a look at that. Yeah, let us know if you have any issues or questions. And as I say, we're putting together some video resources that are specific for computer science to help you as well, and that will be coming in an email probably 24 hours after this session. You can see that we have put in place some additional customer support, so making sure that we have people available to talk to you until 7 p.m. because we're conscious this is a Friday afternoon. I can assure you in subsequent assessment windows, we will not be doing this on a Friday afternoon before half term, but how it got through this year, I can't say. but we're making sure that there's someone that you can contact. So customer support are going to be there until 7 p.m. on the Friday. We're also going to make sure that there's coverage Saturday morning, and the learner work team are going to be available all day Saturday and Sunday if necessary. So hopefully none of this will be needed, because you'll have done it on straight after the exam on the Friday and gone home for your weekend.